Hello, and welcome to the final episode of the Vogue Business and Dept Masterclass series on how to build an e-commerce brand for the future. I'm Bella Webb, Editorial Associate at Vogue Business. Throughout the 3 episodes of this series, I will be joined by brands from fashion, beauty, and luxury to discuss how to build an e-commerce brand for the future. For this week's episode, I'm joined by Nicola Kilner, CEO and co-founder of disruptive beauty group Deciem, whose roster of global brands includes The Ordinary and Niod. Hi, Nicola. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Bella. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, Nicola, since you took over as sole CEO in 2018, Deciem's global retail footprint has expanded to include 32 owned stores, selling a product per second in tandem with e-commerce. How have the retail landscape and consumer expectations of retail changed in that time?
It's been an interesting few years, particularly accelerated during the last couple of years with the pandemic. So it's just been forever changing. And, when we first decided to do our own stores, which, was a difficult decision because, you saw there were brands shutting some of their own stores, other brands doing it. It's hard to kind of decide what's right for your brand and your business. But, we said actually it's around not necessarily looking at our own stores as going to be kind of a huge driver of kind of revenues or profit for our business, but actually a place to have a home for our brand. Because I think, your experience when you go into a brand's own store should always be the best experience and interaction you'll ever have with a brand. And I think actually in most cases you do get that, whether it's fashion or whether it's beauty or any other brand, when you go to their own store, that everything from the uniforms of the staff to actually their training and the way that they the music on the sound system, like everything really is created by that brand. So I think you get such a strong sense of feeling from that brand. So that was why we really wanted to have our own stores. We've got stores everywhere from Toronto, Seoul, Melbourne, Hong Kong, London, Edinburgh, so kind of really all over the world. But I think you really get a common sense of Deciem from each store you go into. And I think what's nice is really within our Deciem stores, I would say, we get a lot of our our early audience, our kind of early adopters in the early years, we always used to say to get 1 million people to ever like us, you first got to get 100 people to love you. And I think it's really that core audience who, first came into our stores, discovered different brands and still continue to have that sense of community within our stores now. But yeah, during the pandemic, it came at an interesting time and, we quickly took the decision to shut stores before all of the restrictions and announcements first came in place in 2020, and we quickly trained our team to be able to do Deciem at home, which was an online platform, because again we knew people loved that in-store experience. And then for the period whilst we offered that remotely, actually it allowed people, whatever city you're in, even if there wasn't a Deciem store, you could still connect with one of our Deciem store ambassadors to really kind of talk through a regime and get that interaction.
So tell me a little bit more then about Deciem at home. What exactly did that entail?
At the time we had over 300 people working in our retail stores. And, if you think back to March 2020, we didn't really know how long it was going to last for, kind of what the future entailed. And we knew we didn't want to have to make any redundancies. We wanted to really retain our team because, to have 300 retail team, that's 300 people who are incredibly well trained on our products. They're part of our Deciem family and they want to help Deciem customers. And at the same time, suddenly everyone was at home and kind of there was less to do because all of your normal leisure activities were kind of restricted. So everyone was also online shopping skincare. So actually it worked really great to be able to offer online consultations. And even though now our store team are back working in retail because, most places now the retail is back open in normal hours, we still do offer, online consultations, whether that's through email, because I think it's important to be able to offer the services depending on how the customer wants to interact with us.
I think that brings us on to the next question quite nicely. What role does human connection play in retail now?
So I think, it depends, I guess, on which category you're in. But I think, within beauty, I think when you go into a store and actually to be able to have a conversation with someone and actually understand someone else's experience of using the products. I think especially for a brand like The Ordinary, where, people really like to mix different ingredients and get a very customized, bespoke regime. It's amazing. On our website now, we have our regimen builder. It's been used over 5 million times, and it's been live for less than a year. So it's incredible you get that. But I think, still having that experience in person, and it's amazing. If you ever go and stand in any of our stores, you will see, anyone from a teenager to, someone in their 90s come in when I was in our Covent Garden store a few weeks ago. And so I think just being able to offer that personalized experience of someone being able to share their experience with the products, mix the brands, really kind of create that regimen, hear what someone's saying, see their skin, see their concerns. And also I think just really giving that sense of the brand. If you come into our Deciem stores, you'll see we also have a good board where we take pictures of people's dogs that go on there. We talk about what we're doing in terms of sustainability, around diversity, around inclusion. And so I'd like to think that, even just seeing that board, you get a good sense of who we are. I was actually in one of our New York stores just before Christmas, before the holidays, and we'd done this kind of good news board where we're encouraging customers to just write down something good that had happened to them in the last year, kind of what was their piece of good news. So then the whole wall of the store was covered with everyone's good news, and there was everything from someone had put about freed Britney to having babies, getting a new job, and all of these things in between. So I think you really get that interaction from store that is difficult. You can do great things online, but nothing will ever beat human connection.
So what have you been doing to try and echo that human connection online?
So as I said, the regimen builder was a huge thing, because I think we always found that was people's challenge online, that they would sometimes find it was overwhelming. We have so many different products, the names can be quite complex. So having that regimen builder really allowed that curation piece to come to play. And again, I think it's around respecting what you can do and kind of what the strengths are for each, because what retail gives you is really that human connection, that kind of in-person experience, and kind of a magical way of bringing a brand to life in so many different dimensions, from the music to the scent to the team to the uniforms and all those elements. But then when you go online, where you don't have as many dimensions, but actually you can be much more prescriptive in terms of, every product range has the pH of the product, all the kind of very specific ingredient technology information. So actually online, I think, can be a real home for kind of data and information, and kind of the quality and quantity of information that I think you can have online when you have such a huge portfolio of products. I think can never really, it's hard to kind of compete with that in stores. So I think it's really just allowing that, both have strengths and really allowing them to play to that.
Can you tell me a little bit about what Deciem does to better understand its audiences? And can you maybe give some examples of when those insights have helped shape your omnichannel strategy?
Yeah, and I think, when it comes to the website, the great thing around the online world is there is data for everything. So, we launched our website last March, so coming up to a year now. But actually, that gives us so much data around our conversion rates going up, because we know we've actually made it easier for people to understand. And people are spending longer online, which means they're, the bounce rate in terms of people dropping off isn't as high. So we're actually getting what they need to them sooner. So that's a good thing around online. It's almost, whenever I speak with our e-commerce team, it always feels like almost kind of playing a chess game where, you're getting the information, you're taking another step, you're seeing the impact on that, then you kind of take your next step. And so you have so much data in that world. Whereas I think within retail, it's still a lot more around our gut. And, you could do tests to see, if something has an impact in one store, if you don't do it in the other store. But, really it's a bit more about feeling. Whereas I think with e-commerce now, there's so much data to mine that you can kind of really drive the outcomes you want. And you can really see that within the results. But again, it's a difficult time, because when I look at some of our numbers, even though we are up on a lot of metrics, just in terms of the volume of people searching skincare, searching for our brands is down. And that's, the macro factors of just the pandemic, and the fact that, a year and a half ago, everyone was at home shopping skincare. It was kind of the thing to do. Whereas actually now we're booking holidays again, we're going to restaurants. So kind of, again, it's just this shift in terms of kind of people's time. So not only do you have your own kind of understanding data to work to, you just then also have what's happening with the environment. Is something going viral on TikTok? If the product's going viral on TikTok, how do you make that an easier conversion on the website if you know that's what people are coming to look at? So you kind of have a plan, but then you're also always being reactive to what's happening out there.
Several of your products have gone viral on TikTok in the last couple of years. Can you tell me a little bit about how you kind of catalyze that momentum, how you build on it and make sure that it's leading to the conversion that you want?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one, because actually probably one of our products that went viral the most on TikTok was our AHA peeling solution. And it was kind of a really strange situation because, the sales exploded. So kind of, from a numbers, we're a business, they were very strong, but actually I wouldn't say we were that happy about it, because actually it was a product that, AHA peeling solution is an incredible product, but I would say it would be better for, a skin kind of 35 plus. But actually when it went viral on TikTok, it was very much kind of the even younger audience using it who didn't really need to use the AHA peeling solution. So we actually ended up having to, do some content around actually education in terms of who is this product for? Because, whilst short-term numbers are great if a product goes viral, actually, if you have a wide audience using a product, that's not the best product for them. That's not someone who's going to become a loyal customer of the brand. And so again, when you do things that are planned, like you're in much more control. When things go viral, it's incredible because it's organic, it's far more authentic, but it's not always what you would pick to go viral. And so, then we're around kind of making sure we're giving education, the right way to use it, when not to use it. So that was an interesting one.
It sounds like education is of particular importance in skincare and beauty retail. Can you tell me a little bit about the various touch points you have in terms of education across physical retail and e-commerce?
Yeah. So as I said, the website is almost the easiest place for education because you've got a whole product page. Often people are getting there because they've already, seen it on a blog, they've seen it on a YouTube video. So you're kind of helping give them that extra content. It's in our own stores, again, it's probably quite good for education because we have our trained team there. So they're there to answer questions. They're there to really help. The place where it's the hardest is, we're in Boots in the UK, we're in Sephora, we're in Ulta, we've got some incredible retail partners, but suddenly you're going to a stand where you don't necessarily have a trained staff there and you don't have the product page there. So it's then trying to find a way to actually bring in that education into merchandising. And again, it comes back to, I think, this principle around just respecting which each channel's strength is and make sure you're playing to that, because then actually your audience can kind of find the right place for them. And again, even on our website, and this is something you remember Brandon always saying around, he was saying about his example was always, if you want to buy a pair of Diesel jeans, it's easier to go to a retailer's website and you can probably filter by waist size and color and everything, rather than going to like Diesel's website where actually it's much more about the brand story. So again, it's trying to kind of understand what is your priority. Like if you're a brand website, is it more important to tell your brand story and be retail second? Whereas if you're someone like Cult Beauty or, Look Fantastic, you're a retailer first. So actually allowing someone to digest the information in the right way is your number one priority. And so I think it's just understanding what's the difference in the channel, what's the strength, which audience is shopping there. So you can plan actually what's the right education, what's the right kind of format to be presenting this in.
And finally, looking ahead to the next 2 to 5 years, what are some of the key e-commerce challenges that Deciem will be trying to overcome?
It is definitely getting that balance between putting kind of brand first, but then also being a retail business, because for any brand, your direct consumer business is so important, because ultimately it's a higher margin, which means that we can afford to do everything else that we're doing and continue to invest in growth and research. So it's really important as part of the channel mix. But then I also think your website is kind of it's your window to actually display your brand to everyone. And sometimes something that you could do that could lead to an increase in revenues might be the opposite of something you want to do to really tell your brand story. So I think always just trying to find that balance that, brand, it's always brand first, business second, but then balancing that knowing that, the online world is so competitive now. And, I think before the pandemic, there was always kind of competition there. But I think, when lockdown happened that first summer of 2020, when everyone was shopping online, all the online players really upped their gaze, but particularly within competition. And, we try not to discount, we try not to kind of be a promotional driven brand. We believe for sustainability and for all the good things in the world, it's much better to kind of just have a different view on that. But it's very difficult because I don't think the online world now will ever lose some of the discounting that we have starting to see. So yeah, all of these challenges as the pandemic continues.
Well, thank you so much, Nicola. That's all we have time for today.
Thanks for having me, Bella. It was great to talk.
This is the final episode of our series on how to build an e-commerce brand for the future. You can view previous episodes and register to download the full series report on the Vogue Business website. Goodbye.